Welcome to the Pipkin and Turnbull Show. It is January 14th, 2020, episode 11. Today, Jamie, are we ready for it?
We're ready for it, man.
Oh, man. So, we're excited to kind of be done with the holidays, start getting back on a regular basis, all that fun stuff as everybody's doing. Hopefully everybody had an awesome Christmas, New Year's, Hanukkah, whatever else I'm missing. Martin Luther King Day's coming
my,
up, so I hope I have a good one that
my
too.
birthday.
Jamie's birthday. Yes.
Yep.
Jamie. Oh, Jamie. So Jamie's gonna be the oldest one for 6 months, man.
Yeah.
Till
Yeah.
the rest of us catch up. That's right.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So got a fun show ahead of us, man. We got a lot of crazy things that happened this weekend, this week of sports, man. Good time for sports.
Yes.
And just heartbreakers too. But
Yeah.
a lot of good things going on. All right, Jamie, what we got going on this week?
All right, man. We are going to break down what happened yesterday in the national championship game, LSU versus Clemson. We're going to take a look at the Katie Twitter beef with Kendra Perkins. And then we're going to seal off the show with the NFL playoffs. We'll dive into that and just kind of maybe give our predictions, what we think is going to happen this weekend. But with that said, man, we'll go into the national championship. What'd you think of it?
Nothing was shocking about it. I think the most shocking part of it was LSU's slow start. Early on in the first and second quarter, you kind of felt that Clemson kind of had a handle on itself. But it's that wear and tear, man. And that was obviously seen. And for just the SEC style of play, that style of athlete is way different than Ohio State and even what Clemson saw in the ACC. And it just boiled down to that, man, is that speed of Chase as a wide receiver, Thaddeus Moss having an amazing game. It just came down to where eventually LSU just wore them out at every position. And that's what LSU kind of did this year. Early on this year, the first kind of couple of games, the biggest question mark was LSU's defense. And, you know, if we look back on the season, there was even what's crazy to think is that LSU kind of had a struggle win against Vanderbilt where they won by 10. And that was kind of the thing that we looked at is like they were having these shootouts, even with Texas, I believe. So, but that even improved throughout the year is just how much LSU had improved from start to finish was pretty crazy, because they are undeniably the best team in college football. When you think about seasons and what they had to do, the teams that they had to play to get to where they're at, to me, I can't think any recent years of a team that's done something quite like that. Somebody mentioned the 2011 LSU team that winded up losing the national championship to Alabama. Kind of had a similar gauntlet, but even then, didn't have the kind of out of conference gauntlet that LSU had this year. So, that's my first reaction. We're gonna do a little bit more, but what do you think?
I mean, it went the exact way I thought it would. I was saying the whole time that the SEC, it's unmatched. And the ACC, they've got some good players. And I'll never take anything away from what Clemson has accomplished. But when it comes to just the juggernaut that is LSU, I saw it going this way. Honestly, I'm surprised that Clemson put up 25. It just Burrow to me just solidified that he's going to be the number one pick. That's something I think we all already knew, but
yeah, the transformation of Joe. Yeah, the transformation
he was amazing. I've got him. He will be none. Yeah.
The transformation of Joe Burrow has been absolutely incredible. Because that's always been the biggest question mark for LSU. Is who do you got behind center? So just to see how him as a player just completely transformed this year, winning the Heisman, winning the national championship. I personally never thought that he was that level of talent. But clearly deserving of everything that's coming his way.
Yeah. Like I was saying, he went 31 for 49, 465, and 5 touchdowns. You really can't ask for more from your quarterback, And so I loved it. I mean, I thought he just had about as perfect game as you can have, and I was hoping it'd be a little closer, and there for a little bit it was. Like you said, LSU got off to that slow start, but and then I think at one point it was like 28-25 game, and then LSU just pulled away. And I think Clemson will probably be back in the national championship next year, but this year, man, they just couldn't match LSU.
Yeah.
And not many teams can.
No, I don't think any team could this year.
Yeah.
I'm like I said, there's been a couple times, Alabama's been in the past kind of the same situation where they clearly are the best team in college football this year, and LSU was clearly the best football team this year. It surprised me the way that Ed Orgeron has kind of changed the culture of LSU. You talk about where it was at, and the turnaround and everything that went on at that program. It's pretty incredible, actually. But that just shows you his heart for LSU. I think kind of for your, I think about the Miami Hurricanes. You had Mark Richt who came in there. But I think the problem that Mark had was he didn't establish a cultural change with the way the whole program was run. And that's the big thing with Ed. He had the heart for his old alma mater coming in there, but he just loves and lives and breathes LSU football. And that's what he's all about, and made his players believe in that too. So, man, Coach Ed Orgeron, man, it's so awesome in his interviews and everything. You just love listening to him. And as an Alabama fan, you just have to respect what LSU's done this year. But it also, I also kind of, but you just kind of expected it, kind of like you were saying, that, like I said, the most surprising thing was just the start wasn't very fresh for LSU at the beginning of that game. So I was kind of thinking, based on the first 2 quarters, Clemson would kind of make a game of it. But then I just go back to where you just look at the size, the way they just literally just wore out Clemson. I mean, that's basically what happened. And then Trevor Lawrence had to try to do everything on his own out there. But they just wore them out in every phase of the game, especially there in the late third and fourth quarter. But I do agree with the talks. You do have to consider this LSU team as one of the greatest teams of all time. There's nothing but you've got one of the toughest schedules that a team has ever had to play. And they were undefeated. So you can't. That's what you will always have to say about this 2019 LSU team. What I would also say is I'm also, as an Alabama homer, as I said, and as a fan, Alabama was also a lot better than a lot of people thought. They had a heartbreaker against Auburn, but they really did. I mean, were a close match to LSU, and so Um, what's crazy is because of that, the way the final rankings are, no, I think I was hearing this the other day. No other team has beat teams like the amount of teams that they beat that will end up in the top 10. So, for example, they will beat, when the polls finish out, they will have top 10 teams in the polls. So, Alabama will be finishing the top 10.
Mhm.
Auburn could possibly finish in the top 10. Georgia will finish in the top 10. Um, and Florida will probably finish up in the top 10. So, no other team has beaten so many top 10 teams when the final ranking's going to be put out there. Um,
Yeah.
and so you just got to give them a lot of credit for what they did. Complete turnaround. Um, we'll just see. People are saying dynasties are over. It's time for LSU and everything. We'll just see.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, Saban wants number 6, and getting to 6 is a big deal for Nick Saban. That's all I'll say
Yeah.
for that, because that would match Coach Bear Bryant, and I think that is part of what he's looking for in his legacy. So I think Coach Ed Orgeron still's got Nick Saban at Alabama and some other coaches coming up too.
Mhm.
So congratulations to Clemson. I really don't know what else to add to it.
No.
Clemson's gonna be back. Dabo, he's gonna. They'll have another dynasty there. You'll have LSU as a dynasty. You'll have Alabama as a dynasty. Not,
Yeah.
these three teams, and probably Ohio State and Georgia somewhat will be in the mix. But I really feel it's going to be an era of Ohio State, Clemson, Alabama, and LSU. Um,
Yeah.
and because I don't, outside of those, I don't know who you could tell me are the most success. Like, if you were looking at the elite programs, to me, those four programs really, I would throw maybe Oklahoma and Georgia in the mix.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but there's a clear difference between those six programs and the rest of the country. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that there just is the type of athlete that you get, the type of recruiting that you're going to get. It's a clear different ball game for those six teams.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how we will conclude the 2019 season with the LSU Tigers as its national champion. So
Yeah. There we go.
yeah, so we're gonna get into this KD Twitter battle thing, and the reason I wanted to bring it up to make, because I feel like Kevin Durant has continually over and over made the same mistake when it comes to Twitter. Um, and I want to get your point of view before we get going on this, because I got a couple thoughts.
I mean, I didn't until you mentioned it today. I didn't know anything about it. Um, but I looked into it, and it's him and Kendrick Perkins going at it, and Perkins is mad that KD went to the Warriors. Just felt like that was just a easy way out kind of thing. Um, and I read through all the tweets, and then another guy got involved. I didn't know who he was, um, and he was kind of defending KD. Um, I don't really have like any thoughts on it. I think Perkins is quick to point out that KD went to the Warriors to win a championship, but Perkins was a part of he was traded to the Celtics and was part of one of the best Celtics teams ever in 2008 and won an NBA title there. Perkins went to the Cavaliers and tried to team up with Braun there, to win a championship. So I think he's pointing the finger, but he's kind of missing that he was a part of some pretty good teams himself. And I have my feelings towards KD and him going to the Warriors. I think he could have stayed there in Oklahoma City, and they would have probably eventually won a championship or played in a lot at least. Him, Russ together, if that would have never broken up, I think would have been about as good as a duo. in today's NBA. But I mean, I don't really. I think it was all just kind of stupid. Honestly, like they're yelling back and forth at each other, and there's really no need for it. You know, Perkins ain't even in the league anymore. You know, he's a commentator for ESPN, and you know, KD's not even going to be able to play this season. So
Well, I guess my
I don't
question
know.
is why is Kevin Durant, when we talk about Twitter and these things happen on social media, it's a pattern with him. Um, I don't. I guess I don't know why we don't see this with other athletes. Like you don't, you know, I know that Kevin Durant's one of the best basketball players on this earth. So why does he have to talk to some guy from Texas to prove that point? You know what I'm saying? Why why is he the only
Yeah,
athlete to get into this? Maybe besides Antonio Brown. I mean, but you start putting him in that category, which he's
yeah,
not, but is and he had the whole
no,
burner account, where he goes and and I just I I don't understand why you intentionally knowingly may tarnish your reputation and your career and your legacy by talking to nobody on
yeah,
Twitter. There was another tweet
yeah,
that, even before the Kendrick Perkins deal, he's talking to, I think, a writer, um, the uh, Brandon Turney. Um, he said nothing but respect for your game, but the reality is simple. The Mecca had your name all over it, and you passed up the shot. I'm from Brooklyn, and it's in my blood. But NYC is all about the Knicks, and always will be.
mm,
And then Kevin Durant responds, "You're gonna watch. Doesn't matter." Um, and they're kind of going back and forth, and then Brandon's like, "I've got mad respect for your game," and then Katie's just going kind of back and forth, um, in this article. I guess my main point for Kevin Durant, is we could speculate on all the moves. Um, I think I can speculate what he does, but I just in my head I don't get his need to fire back on Twitter because I don't see any of the other athletes
yeah,
doing it quite like him, or the stories don't come out like it does for KD, and maybe
mm,
that's just part of it. But to me,
yeah,
it kind of tarnishes the legacy a little bit down for me. But I know at the end of the
yeah,
day that Kevin Durant is going to be one of the best basketball players that we have ever seen. Um,
yeah.
but do I tend to agree with Kendrick Perkins about kind of it being a weak move to go to the 49, not the 49, but the Warriors? Uh, I think
You
a
probably
little bit.
would.
Yeah, I mean, I would. I mean, it's just Katie's just really interesting. But, he has an opportunity with the Brooklyn Nets to. The Brooklyn Nets are just such a better organization overall, just management wise. It's a pretty obvious decision.
Yeah.
Even if the Knicks do rule New York, which I believe they do, there's still got to be a
Mm,
certain happiness that you've got to be a part of a good organization. Um, and that's
yeah.
what the Brooklyn Nets will offer. And I think that was a part of his big decision with that. But there again, it's going back to
Yeah.
his decisions, which I didn't really want to get into. I just don't see the need for him to do it the way that he does. Um,
Mm,
and but somebody did make a good point. It is cool to see a basketball player interacting with fans and telling you what they actually think. Being
yeah.
real and authentic at the same. I do appreciate that, but
Mm,
you've got to be able to find some sort of fine line. You know,
yeah.
um, but that's just me. But
Yeah. I mean, it may just he's bored. I mean, there's a number of things he could just everything, all the talk might just be getting to him. So he just finally just wants to just, I don't know, tell him, how he's feeling and stuff. There's a number of things. I wouldn't be surprised if the Brooklyn Nets decide to put it in his contract, is like stop talking on social media. But I mean, any social media argument is dumb. There's no need for it. I've been in plenty, and at the end of the day, man, there's nothing that's solved from it. He just needs to I guess he just needs to understand people have their opinions, and they're always going to have their opinions. Any move that he made, going to Golden State, going to the Nets, every move he's made, he's done for a reason. He's done for his family. He's done for his career. I think anybody that wants to talk about, why did he go to a team that's going to probably win a championship? Well, duh, because to win a championship. And so I think he feels he has to defend himself, when I really don't think he does, because I think if any of us was offered the chance to pretty much, you're going to win the championship if you go to the team, okay, where do I sign? And so I think he needs to get out of his own head and just be like, I don't need to defend myself to you. I'm going to let my play do that for me, and just let the pieces fall where they may.
Yeah.
But, I mean, there'll be something to definitely keep monitoring.
I mean, and I could talk about LeBron. I thought it was a weak move for him to go back to Cleveland. Maybe you could say the same argument for him. I mean, you really could.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got, you had Kyrie.
You could say him going to Miami in the first place was a weak move. He
right.
formed a super team there to go win a championship. Anybody, everybody has their reasons, and I just don't feel these athletes necessarily need to explain their reasons. But that's just me.
I agree with that. And I like I said, the moreover point, I personally will never understand just the need to go on Twitter and tarnish your legacy,
mm-hmm.
because we know that you're great. Like
mm-hmm.
Just physical wise, everything, his shooting ability, you could never
mm-hmm.
question KD's greatness because he is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just whether you like him or not, that's the fact that he is one of the greatest players to do to play basketball. Anyways, but that's where I'm at. All right, so to finish up, wrapping up the night. Big O NFL. Man, we had a ton of stuff happen. Jamie?
Oh, yeah.
What are your first thoughts on this playoff so far and what you're seeing?
Brother, this is the best playoffs I think I can remember. Like, there are teams that usually don't make the playoffs that are in the playoffs. There's teams that usually are in the Super Bowl that aren't going to be in the Super Bowl this year. That one that's in Foxborough. Thank God. Man, I from start to finish, I'm so happy with this playoff. The whole NFL season this year has been, I think, one of the best all-around seasons I have ever seen. But, shout out to Tennessee, man. They finished their season 9-7, sneak into the playoffs on a wild card, and they have went to Baltimore, they have went to New England, and now they're about to go to Kansas City. And I'm telling you right now, as you can tell, I'm a Chiefs fan. Like, if you were watching the show and you were questioning what team I was rooting for, but it's I can't. I've been rooting so hard for Tennessee. I've said since the beginning, that is the team I don't want to play. Because that is a dirty team. Not like dirty in a bad way, but like they they get down and dirty. They smash mouth football, old school football.
Yeah.
They're Tannehill's not gonna light you up and put up 400 yards passing and like 6 touchdowns, man. But they're scrappy, and that is a team that nobody wants to play in January. And so I'm here for the Tennessee Titans. I'm loving it. I love Mike Vrabel, former Chiefs player. Love what he's doing there. I can't say enough for them. And just I just love these playoffs so much. Like Baltimore, everyone thought that they were gonna, they had an easy street all the way to the Super Bowl, and they didn't, and Tennessee did exactly what I talked about on here. If you get out to an early lead and you make Lamar Jackson have to pass, he's not going to win. Like he can probably still win, but like it's just if you take the run away, then you're more likely to beat them. And it's just what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, just start to finish, especially the. I really enjoyed the wild card games in a whole. Really had some great games. The Vikings getting the win against the Saints. That was an amazing game.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
What a finish it was. I was kind of hoping there for the Saints. But what's crazy with that Saints game is I hate to break it to the Vikings fans but that game ended with another pass interference, an offensive pass interference. Yep. It really did.
Yep.
A clear push off, man. And to end your season on pass interferences is crazy. You can talk about all the hand fighting and all that, but there is a clear stretch of the arm at the end of that play that had an effect on that game and had an effect on that game for Kyle Rudolph to snag that ball. With that being said, the Vikings played an amazing game. Kirk Cousins staying in there the whole time, with it. I was afterwards I was happy for him to get that playoff win, just seeing how excited that team was. Seahawks took care of Philadelphia as expected.
We all knew that.
San Francisco, man, just to talk for them for a second, they just showed what their defense is all about. But my perspective of that Vikings San Francisco game was that win against the Saints was at a cost. They from the beginning of that game looked worn out. They didn't have an answer. Honestly, I mean, my perspective is I just looked at that team and I was like, they were spent. I mean, I just saw a tired team just try to pull something together, because the offense for San Fran, was okay. They did what they needed to do, but it wasn't great. That defense was great.
Yeah.
But when I look at that Minnesota team was just tired. And San Fran got lucky that they didn't have a fresh team. I mean, I don't know. I've never felt when I've been watching a game that it looked like a team was just exhausted. And that Saints Vikings game was an exhausting, emotional game. But I've never seen that it would take such a big effect going on to the next. But I really felt like it did. Also with the Green Bay and Seattle, I was kind of pulling for Seattle. They just, like we always say, there was 2 bad men on that field, and Aaron Rodgers just got the better of it. He got enough first downs to win that game. They had a slow start, and when you get slow starts, sometimes you can't come back, and that's what kind of was happening with Seattle.
But that game also ended with a questionable ref call. with Graham getting that first down.
Yeah.
Going back and looking at it, like he slid across the first down line, but he was clearly down before it.
What's
And
hard
that
what's hard about that
ended it.
spotting is that the yellow lines can also
Or
be
unofficial.
or unofficial and can be off, and
Yeah.
so and that's what makes that call really tough, because I think probably what's happening in that situation is you can't go off the yellow line, you have to go off the ball, and there really is no
Yeah.
clear, where his head is, but
Yeah.
we also don't know where clearly that chain marker's at. So, and any spot call,
Yeah.
it's incredibly hard to overturn that. But
Yeah.
if that yellow line is precise, which most of the time they're pretty good about it being right on, I don't think he made it. But if you called a spot, you can't overturn it. Based on the rules the way they are, there's no way you can overturn what happened. Because it wasn't clear enough to not overturn it.
Okay.
Based on my opinions and the angles that we had, the yellow line is not official, and I think that's the hard thing for fans sitting at home to realize. Is that I also don't believe when you go into replay, the officials don't have they don't have the yellow line, they just have the spot on the field, and if they don't, if you don't have a clear angle, you can't overturn it.
And I mean, how many times have we seen that people they don't necessarily cross the line, but forward progress rules a first down, and so it's just it's I see where Seahawks fans are going with it, and like how a lot of people are mad about it, because that cost them their Super Bowl shot, but I also see why the officials rule it the way they did. There's always ways for the NFL to improve and be more accurate, but I think the officials called the best spot that they could. So
it's tough because it's got to be conclusive, and I think that's kind of a fair way to look at replay. I've thought about that a lot. I've thought about there's got to be a human element to this game. And for the most part, there's sometimes where the refs are just so clearly off, but for the most part during these games, they do an incredible job.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. The playoffs, the calls in the playoffs so far this year have been leaps bounds better than some of the calls that I've seen in the regular season.
And there's
that's definitely good.
And I always think about when I'm watching a game, there's no way I'd want to be in the official's position. No way.
Yeah.
But they're most of the time when you are like 90% of the time correct on that fast paced a game, like you gotta. I know it's easy to hate on refs and officials and things like that, but kudos to them because most of the time it's right. The way that they see and call it. So I don't know. It's just hard when that yellow line's not official. The last thing I want to bring up about the Baltimore-Tennessee game, everybody I feel is talking about how smart, how great Baltimore is with their analytics, how great they are for going on fourth downs. Like nobody's having a problem that they go for it on these fourth downs. My biggest one is that the game, there's one fourth down where they have an opportunity for points. They have an opportunity to get the game to 9-13. I think because Tennessee missed an extra point at that point. They have an opportunity to get this game to 9-13, but instead they go 4th and 1. The other fourth down, I agree with that 4th and 1 try. But at that point
Mhm.
in the game, you change that game 13-9, then as a player, you have an opportunity to score a touchdown, get out of the half, and actually be ahead of Tennessee. But instead,
Yeah.
what happened was they don't convert that fourth down, and Tennessee goes down and scores before the end of the half. To
Mhm.
me, nobody has talked about that where you could have had that 9-13 game and possibly even had that going into the half. That
Yeah.
that to me was the changing and deciding moment for the game. Um,
Yeah.
you the way that things were going, you needed points, and you needed even if it became a kicking game, you had Justin Tucker as the best kicker in football. You had to
Yeah.
close that gap, and you had to get some
Yeah.
sort of momentum swing going. Um, so I appreciate analytics, but at some point you got to get points. And I don't know what you felt, or
Mhm.
if you remember that play, or what they should have done.
Man, I'm very rarely am I okay going with it, going for it on 4th and 1, 4th and inches. Especially if you're in field goal range. I saw the Ravens do this. I went to the Kansas City Baltimore game in week 3, and I saw the Ravens do this and fail multiple times in that game. And even I up in the stands was going, "What are they doing? Just take the points." And but they it I don't know if that's just Harbaugh just not trusting his defense, or just I don't know, wanting all the points he can, just a touchdown every time. But it's okay to kick a field goal. Like, points are points at the end of the day, and I feel like Baltimore leaves a lot on the table. They make a lot and they score a lot, but it's like I feel like they leave a lot on the field, going for it on 4th down all the time.
Yeah,
And
I get who you got talent wise, makes
yeah,
it more of a reasonable bet to go for it, but there's certain points in the games where you just need points, especially when you're
yeah,
down like that. I like teams that are aggressive like that. I love seeing a fourth down try. Like, those are one of my favorite. We could all say that when a team goes for it on fourth down, we love those moments. But there's
yeah,
also a moment where you need to stop and be like, if I take this field goal and my defense gets a stop, I can get this lead back before half. And
yeah,
that's where that I feel like that mindset should have been.
yeah,
But they score that touchdown, and you're within a certain amount, but like I said, even if they get a defensive stop, um, you go 12-13, and for whatever reason, if you're just kicking field goals, you're still getting that margin better. You're still narrowing that
yeah,
margin down, even with field
yeah,
goals. Because you and I have talked about
yeah,
this for years. Where we feel like, and this is going off on a little bit of a tangent, where even in high school and college level, where you really need to spend time on special teams and kicking field goals, because it really does matter. It
yeah,
really does matter where you don't have to go for a fourth down. You can take a 30-yard field goal and call it good.
yeah, yeah,
Those can win you games for sure. Um,
yeah,
and I think about that a lot, especially at the high school level,
yeah,
where we still watch high school games where they're like on the 20-yard line, but they have to go for it because they haven't worked on their field goal kicking. Which has
yeah,
never made sense to me because those are points.
yeah,
And then in high school you lose by 10. You know,
mhm,
um, or you could have
yeah,
made up some of that ground by just kicking a couple field goals. But anyways,
yeah,
that's my tangent. Um, uh, you know,
um,
uh, so yes, so on the Tennessee side, I man, this is all right. Never mind. Let's tell me about I'm gonna let you open up with what the heck happened at Arrowhead this Sunday.
Man, I wish I knew. Like
Were
I
you weren't there at the were you there at the game?
no no
Okay, all right.
no. I was watching it at home. I wish I was. That would have been a game to go to, but I might have left early.
Yeah,
Being
like that
at
one fan
24
did.
nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like I can't do this. I'm bad luck.
yeah. I'll
No.
go.
Yeah. I it's such a weird mentality because you know what Mahomes is capable of, and you know what he can do with the weapons that he has. But I think I'm still stuck in that Alex Smith, and this is no knock against Alex Smith because I love Alex Smith. I think he's arguably one of the best quarterbacks that Kansas City's ever had, which could say bad about the talent we've had at quarterback. But I love Alex Smith. But a couple years ago, if that Chiefs team with Alex Smith at quarterback was down 24-0, we don't win that game. Like it's just it doesn't
No,
happen. He's not the guy
no.
that I've seen him come back against the Chargers. I don't remember how much we were down, but that was like the only time. And so I was sitting there watching it, and I wanted to just because we were over at my mom's, and I was like, I almost looked over at my wife and was like, I want to go home. I don't want to watch this anymore. I want to go home. I just want to just be done with this season. But I ended up staying, but I said this is over. Like, and it's just that mentality though that
Yeah,
I, I just haven't, yet, and I'm starting to grow out of now because I Patrick Mahomes, man, he does things with that football that I've I've never seen before. The way he throws it, the way he can extend a play, it
yeah,
I that game I loved it because and it wasn't just Mahomes, everyone's giving him all the credit, but Daniel Sorensen, shout out to
oh
Dirty
my
Dan.
gosh, yeah.
He he
I was
was
gonna say
two
that
big
tonight.
plays.
I was about to say Daniel Sorensen is the one
Yeah,
of the biggest reasons that comeback
he
happens.
he stops that fake punt. It gives us the ball on the other side of the 50. He
Yeah,
causes that fumble on the kickoff. Like,
and
it's
I don't
our
know.
little role players
Yeah,
that are
and I
stepping
don't
up
know if you
too.
remembered the Deshaun Watson was actually starting to break off a big run, and he comes kind of out of nowhere and gets a huge tackle on him. I remember that
Yeah.
part of the game too, where
Yeah.
I felt like I thought Deshaun was going to go another 20, but he had a big tackle there too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
wow,
And it's just it goes to show that this Chiefs team is special. From top to bottom. Everybody's already putting them in the Super Bowl, which if you ever look past Tennessee,
oh
don't
dude,
like
it's going to be a whole nother animal. Like with
yeah,
Tennessee, it's
yeah.
it's like I've. Anyways, I'll let you keep going. We can get into
No,
this in a second. But
you're
man,
good. You're good.
but
I
yeah,
this Kansas City team, it just shows heart and a lot of desire. We're kind of have a bad if you if you look don't do it but if you look at the Kansas City's playoff record, it's bad. It's really bad. And but that doesn't affect these players, and that definitely doesn't affect Mahomes, who's now 2-1 in the playoffs as a starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's not affected by that playoff record, and which is good. Um, and it showed, because I think a lot of players down 24 in the first quarter would have been like, oh, we're done, and they would start planning their vacation.
yeah.
Um, Mahomes wasn't buying into that, and so I loved it. Probably one of the best playoff games I've ever seen. Um, because I came out on top. But
Hey,
I mean, what's your thoughts?
but the way I look at it, man, a team from Houston is gonna represent in the Super Bowl. No matter the way you look at
Yeah,
it. I was
true.
thinking about this
Yeah,
weekend. I was like, well, I bet there'll be people in Houston today who are Tennessee fans, people who are Chiefs fans, and people who are Texans
yeah,
fans. So I mean, the city
yeah,
of Houston kind of won no matter what. So that's,
yeah,
anyways. I've been kind of thinking about that because I'm a nerd. Um,
yeah.
so but I man, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I didn't. I was thinking about messaging you like that first quarter, just being like, "What is going on?" Like because I have I looked at Elizabeth, my wife Elizabeth, and I was just like, I've never seen a team play like this bad. Like it was bad.
Yeah,
Like there was
yeah.
drops all over the field. The defense didn't look like they're going to be able to stop anything. It was bad.
Mm-mm.
I mean,
Yeah,
24-0 special teams. I mean, everything about the Chiefs, it was real bad. Um,
yeah.
just the drop. I mean, even throughout the game, there was drops where, especially that Denard guy, number 11, he had drops the
Oh,
whole game.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um, and what's crazy is I tried to think if it was something besides that kickoff return by Hardman that really was the catalyst, but it truly was. I mean, along with Daniel Sorensen making huge plays, those were
yeah,
the. But I've never seen where a kickoff like they were like the Chiefs were almost like, okay, we've done one thing right in this game, so we're ready to go. Like maybe
yeah,
that was the mentality at that because honestly nothing had gone right for them. Like
yeah,
anything that could go wrong went wrong. Um and man, and then just to be able to be down by 24 and in one quarter come back and lead before halftime. I've never seen
yeah,
anything like that. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that. And then I was impressed with Andy Reid that he didn't go conservative. He just kept
yes.
kept the metal down and he was like, "We gotta keep scoring no matter what happens. You
Hmm.
aren't we aren't leaving this field without scoring."
Yeah,
And kudos to them for getting some great play calling. Really was. I mean, in that second quarter to fourth quarter, brilliant play call. Even with the, I mean, he had some. There was decently called on offense. Um, even to that point, you just have drops and things going on. But
yeah,
I've never. I don't think we'll ever see a game quite like that again. Um, and like we've been talking, Mahomes is unless something drastically changes, headed for the Hall of Fame. Um, telling you, bro, like unless it's just the Chiefs' curse not to be in Super Bowls, he's gonna at least get to a couple. Um,
yeah,
that would shock me.
yeah,
But man, he's such a fun guy to watch. He really is.
yeah,
Man, uh, he's he's the best out of the pack. I mean, we talk about Lamar, we talk about Deshaun, you talk about all of them, but Mahomes is something different.
yeah,
About, uh, but also he's got some pretty good talent. Kelsey was
yeah,
running his routes really well. You got Tyreek Hill, but Mahomes he turned something on that's just amazing to watch. Um,
yeah,
and I think I think what's crazy if and like I said, I'm an Alabama fan. I'll preface that all the time, but I think Tua's got a tad bit of that magic. Maybe not as much as Patrick, but Tua's got some magic in him like that, where he can just make plays that you've never seen before happen. So it'll be interesting if that comes into play. Um,
yeah.
just excited for the Chiefs. But let me tell you, these Titans are like this is not a good matchup for the Chiefs. I've been thinking about
Yeah.
this ever since the win, and the Titans O line is the best that is playing in this playoffs, bar none.
Yeah.
They have the best offensive line. You go back and you watch some of that film of the holes that they were creating. Drive a semi through it. I mean, they drove
Yeah.
King Henry through it, which is a pretty good truck.
Yeah.
So, um, and Tennessee makes you have the way that they've been winning in this playoffs is they make you play their game.
Yeah.
And and I don't know personnel wise if the Chiefs have it on defense to stop their run game. And I
Yeah.
know that that's going to be the big thing. Everybody internally says we got to stop the run. And, what does Tennessee do with that? Do they come out passing?
I think we're going to see a lot of play action pass on Sunday. I think because I think Vrabel knows that the Chiefs are going to stack for the run. So why not use some play action pass? I've been thinking about that too, and I think they're going to run Henry a lot. The last time the Chiefs in Tennessee played, Henry ran 23 carries, 188 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of play action pass on Sunday, just because they know the Chiefs are going to be looking for it.
Yeah.
And Chris Jones might not even be playing. He's day to day. It'll literally be a game time decision if Chris Jones even plays, which we didn't have him the first time we played Tennessee, but that's a big hole to fill. And so
the way that the playoffs has kind of played out, these really to me, Tennessee really deserves to be in this game. They really are one of the best teams in the AFC. The way that they've been playing and showing what they're able to do. I wasn't, when you're going into this thing, you aren't sure, but man, they've proven it. Like the Chiefs, it's not guaranteed because matchup wise, the Chiefs do not match up well. They matched up actually better against the Texans, to be honest with you. Than they do Tennessee, because Tennessee is very good at what I feel Kansas City is pretty weak at. And that's based on Tennessee's run game. But it's hard to go into Arrowhead. I mean, it's hard to it's going to be difficult to based on this weekend. It's going to be hard to beat them Chiefs, but
see, I'm not even counting Arrowhead as a factor. I mean, we've seen Tennessee going to M&T Bank Stadium and beat Baltimore. We saw them going to Foxborough and beat the Patriots. These are road warriors. Arrowhead's a hard place to play, but so are those places.
Yeah.
And so I'm not even sitting here like, because we're at Arrowhead, we've got the advantage. No, we don't. When it comes to running the football, like the Arrowhead crowd really doesn't have much to, that affects more of the pass. But when you're just handing the football off, that doesn't, the sound does not really affect you. And so I'm not really looking at the Arrowhead crowd as being a big factor. It's going to be a factor. 142.2 decibels is a factor. But they're just, I don't think they're going to rely on the run as much as people think. But it's going to be, they're going to run it, and Henry's going to get his carries. That's for sure. But I'm definitely, like I said, Tennessee's the team, the one team in the AFC playoffs that I did not want at all.
Yeah.
And this is the reason. So, but I will say, last time we played them, Mahomes went 36 for 50, 446 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Yeah. So, I mean, he did pretty good. And that was his first game back from his injury.
Yeah.
And it was, the Chiefs should have won that game.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but Yeah, and you're right. The Chiefs basically they lost, like they gave that game away.
Yeah,
Um, but that's not going to happen this time around. I mean, the Titans are just even way better than the
yeah,
last time we saw them play KC. I mean, that's
yeah,
how the we have passed like that. The two teams, Kansas City and the Titans, especially Tennessee, is way different. It's a whole different animal.
yeah,
Which
yeah.
I didn't expect, which nobody really expected to see, like how drastic
Mm-hmm.
that they really are that good. Um, I would be
Yeah.
shocked if it was a blowout. I'm thinking 32-28 Chiefs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's just that run game, man. I mean Henry. I
Yeah.
mean Henry and that O line. I mean, you don't you don't want to go against that. It's
Mm-mm.
crazy. On the other side,
Yeah.
you've got San Francisco and Green Bay. Um, what have we said this entire year, man? Is uh
Quarterback.
quarterback.
Yep.
Does that follow suit? I mean, everybody's talking San Fran all the way. We go back to defense wins championships, man. But shoot,
Well, last time I was, cause yeah, when I was putting my notes together today, I was like, okay, I didn't, I guess I missed the game or I just didn't remember it, but they've played already this year. They've played each other, and the last time San Fran 37, Green Bay 8.
yeah,
Rodgers went 20 for 33, 104 yards and one touchdown. Garoppolo went 14 for 20, 253 and two touchdowns. Kittle had 6 receptions, 129 yards and one touchdown. So we've seen them play already this year. I just couldn't I didn't remember it. But that's during the regular season, and the playoffs are a different beast. I
right.
don't expect Rodgers to be that bad. Um, 140 yards the whole game for Aaron Rodgers, like that is not Aaron Rodgers. And so uh I'm still leaning Rodgers on this. San Fran, according to ESPN, has a 71.9 win percent on this. I don't agree with that one bit. Um, I gotta roll with Rodgers on this. He's been here. He's got the experience. Garoppolo don't. Garoppolo's on a good team, and that is probably, I would say the 49ers is probably one of the best well-rounded teams that we're gonna find. Just from top to bottom, their offense, like we've said on this show 100 times now, is a little uh, just kind of they show flashes, but I wouldn't trust them. That defense though is good. That defensive line I would say is probably one of the best in the NFL. They're all first round draft picks, and so but I still got to just go with the Packers on this one. Like
Yeah.
it's Aaron Rodgers. At the end of the day, it's Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
I mean that's my thoughts on it, man. I don't know what you got,
Yeah,
but
I'm kind of just based on I think San Fran will have enough, and I like Aaron Rodgers and the matchup of that, but I don't agree with the 71. It's a lot closer than people will expect it to be.
mm-hmm.
And the last time we talked about this, I went against the whole quarterback theory of mine. I went Seattle the first and got that right. And then when we talked
Yeah.
about it again, the second matchup, I picked San Fran. Um, you know, and and then just this yeah, and then just thinking about just where these teams are at right now. I think it'll be a 3-point type game. I'm thinking a 24-21. They'll be locked in at that 21 for a while, and it'll just be it'll come down to maybe Garoppolo has to make a couple of plays to get in that field goal range. Because I'm thinking maybe it'll
Yeah.
happen. So we'll just see if he can convert at the end. But it's gonna be a lot closer. It's just that quarterback and then that line that we always say, but it truly plays out as that defense wins championships. So
Yeah.
So yeah, I will just go with San Fran since you went with Green Bay, but it's really a lot closer. It can go either way. The X factor is Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
And he's the only reason that we would be saying Green Bay is going to win this game or lose this game based on the way he plays. So, really exciting. That will kind of wrap up our show for tonight. Got a great NFC and AFC game coming up this weekend. What I'm excited about next week is that we'll kind of cover what's going on, but then we're also going to give you our top 5 Team Pip or Team Turnbull. Which do you think? Which Super Bowls? We're going to rank our top 5 favorite Super Bowls, the best Super Bowls. Like we always say, let us know in the comments for what you want to see, what you want us to talk about. We love that stuff. We want you guys to do it.
Yes.
Help us figure out what you want to hear. But we're excited. We're excited about talking about next week and getting into this and seeing what all is going to go down. What's awesome about this weekend is all 4 teams have, unlike some years past, I felt, all 4 teams really do have a legitimate chance to win out, and I really couldn't tell you I've got a strong feeling for any team, which is crazy. But that's really about what I feel like these championships are going to go. Even with Jamie pointing at his Kansas City sign. So we'll see, man. But Jamie, any thoughts?
No, just thank you for all the, as I always say, thanks for all the support. Thanks for the views, man. We love you guys. Couldn't do this without you. So thanks, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys next Tuesday.
All right. Good night, guys.